Welcome back, everyone. As we roll into next month, a countdown kicks off for 5 major shifts that will impact nearly every homeowner and tenant in America. The catch? You'll get almost zero heads up before these changes actually hit your wallet. I am not discussing hypotheticals here. I am talking about a rigid schedule of upcoming events that is already in motion. Every year, millions of Americans are caught entirely off guard simply because no one warns them to get ready ahead of time. In today's video, I am breaking down exactly what is on the horizon. We will cover the actual dates, the hard numbers as they currently sit, and the precise steps you need to take this month. That way, when September rolls around and the deadlines are tight, you will not be left panicking. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. These financial shifts are coming whether you are prepared or not. The government agencies, like the IRS, HUD, your local housing authority, or even your mortgage company, are not going to send you a friendly text message to get ready. The viewers subscribed to this channel get the critical details well before the deadlines strike. So, subscribe now and let us get started. Mortgage companies nationwide are gearing up to mail out escrow adjustment letters for the autumn season. The opportunity to review and act on these letters before your monthly bill changes starts right now. If your home loan includes an escrow account, your lender handles paying your property taxes and home insurance out of your monthly payment. Each year, usually toward the end of summer or early fall, these companies perform an escrow analysis. This is simply a check to ensure they are collecting enough money from you each month to pay your upcoming tax and insurance bills. Whatever they figure out during this review sets your brand new monthly payment, which usually kicks in during your September or October billing cycle. Now, for the 2026 tax year, property taxes have jumped up in a large majority of counties across the U.S. This is mostly because home values have continued to climb, and in many places, they have only slightly dropped from their record highs back in 2021 and 2022. Based on county tax data gathered this year, the average property tax hike nationwide for 2026 is sitting roughly 6 to 8% higher than last year. In booming housing markets down south, across the Southwest, and in certain areas of the Midwest, seeing a 15 to 20% spike on a single tax bill is completely normal right now. Let us look at the math. Imagine a homeowner who normally pays $4,200 a year in property taxes and $1,800 for insurance. That is $6,000 total, which means the lender collects $500 a month for escrow. But if those property taxes climb by 8%, the annual bill jumps to $6,144. Suddenly, the lender needs to collect $512 a month. That might just look like $12 extra dollars, but in areas with steeper tax hikes, that monthly adjustment can easily surge by $50, $75, or even over $100. And it happens with barely any warning. Let me break down a real-world scenario to show how this hits someone on a fixed income. Take a retired homeowner living near Phoenix. They bought their house back in 2019 for $310,000. Thanks to a hot market, by 2024, the county valued the home at $480,000. Now, the 2026 assessment has pushed that value up another 6% to $510,000. Since their county taxes property at about 1% of its value, their new tax bill is roughly $5,100, which is a $300 jump from the previous year. That $300 increase means their lender will demand an extra $25 a month starting in October. But wait, their home insurance also went up by 12% this year, adding another $47 to their monthly escrow. Put it together, and their total mortgage payment just went up by $72 a month, entirely due to escrow adjustments. If you are living on a fixed Social Security check of $2,200 a month, a surprise $72 bill is a big deal. It eats up over 3% of your income and forces you to rewrite your budget. This retiree got a brief 2-page notice in the mail in mid-August telling them the new payment started October 1st. They had fewer than 6 weeks to figure it out. If they had just checked their property tax assessment back in June, they would have had 3 extra months to prepare. This is exactly why taking action this month is so crucial. By law, lenders have to tell you about an escrow change before it happens, but they often only give you 30 days of notice. Getting a letter in mid-August for an October change gives you almost no time to budget, let alone check if the lender's math is even right, because believe me, they make mistakes. You also need to watch out for the escrow cushion. Lenders love to keep a buffer of extra cash in your account just in case bills go up. But federal law strictly caps this cushion at 1/6 of your total yearly escrow payouts. If you suspect your lender is hoarding more of your money than legally allowed, you have every right to demand an account review and get a refund for the extra cash. This is not rare. Lenders overcharge on escrow all the time, and most people have no idea they can fight it. Here is your action plan, starting today. Grab your latest mortgage statement. Find exactly how much you pay into escrow each month, alongside your current yearly tax and insurance costs. Next, look up your county's official property tax assessment for your home for the 2026 tax year. You can usually find this by just typing your county's name plus Property Tax Assessment 2026 into a search engine. Compare what your lender is holding against what your actual bills will be. If the numbers do not line up, you will have the hard data ready before that adjustment letter even hits your mailbox. Catching a mistake before your new payment schedule locks in is incredibly easier than trying to get your money back after months of overpaying. Moving on to change number 2, and this one has a track record of blindsiding homeowners and landlords more than almost anything else. FEMA is currently rolling out a massive wave of flood zone updates across the country in 2026. This means millions of people who used to live in completely safe, low-risk zones are suddenly being reclassified into high-risk flood zones. And that switch instantly alters both your insurance rules and your home loan agreements. FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program modifies its mapping on a rolling schedule. However, 2026 is seeing the biggest surge of map updates in years, specifically targeting counties all over the Southeast, the Gulf Coast, the Mid-Atlantic, and chunks of the Central Midwest. The moment your home gets lumped into what is known as a special flood hazard area, you are legally required to buy flood insurance if your mortgage is backed by the federal government. If you have never needed this coverage before, a standard government policy can easily run you hundreds of dollars or more each year, depending entirely on your home's construction, how high it sits off the ground, and your specific zone. Here is why so many people get caught completely off guard. FEMA sends an official letter notifying you of the map change, but they mail it to the address listed on your county property records. If you own a rental property or use a post office box, you might never see that mail. Instead, a huge number of homeowners only find out when a blunt letter arrives from their mortgage company demanding proof of insurance within 30 to 60 days. If you miss that window, your lender will purchase a policy for you and tack it onto your bill, a process called force-placed insurance, which costs way more than a policy you could buy yourself. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Consider a retired couple down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They bought their house back in 2012 in what was labeled Zone X, a designation meaning the property was outside the flood danger zone and no insurance was required. Their lender confirmed it, and they spent 14 years living comfortably without flood insurance. But in 2026, FEMA updated its local maps using new water flow data and sea level projections. Their neighborhood was rezoned into Zone AE, which is a high-risk area. FEMA mailed out the notice, but due to a slight formatting error on their county paperwork from an old refinance, the letter went to an incorrect address format. It was never delivered and bounced straight back to FEMA. The very first time this couple heard about the change was a letter from their mortgage lender dated October 15th. It informed them that their home was now in a high-risk zone, and they had to secure at least $250,000 in flood coverage. The letter gave them exactly 30 days to comply, or the lender would buy a policy for them. Lender-purchased insurance is brutally expensive, often costing 2 to 3 times more than a standard policy from the government or a private insurer. For this couple, buying their own plan through the government would have cost about $1,400 a year. The lender's force-placed plan quoted in the letter? A staggering $4,100 a year for identical coverage. Because they only had 30 days to fix it, and they had no idea they could actually contest the map change, they panicked, bought the first direct policy they could find, and absorbed the extra cost. What they missed was that a local surveyor could have given them an elevation certificate for around $500. If that certificate proved their house sat high enough, they could have applied for a letter of map amendment to erase the designation completely, saving them $1,400 every single year. They simply did not know that was an option. Remember, when a lender forces an insurance policy on your home, they are only looking out for their own financial stake in the property. They do not care about giving you a fair rate or comprehensive coverage. If your neighborhood was recently remapped, or if you get any mail from FEMA regarding map adjustments, your smartest move is to call an independent insurance agent right away to look at your options before your mortgage lender steps in. Furthermore, if you think the government's new map is just plain wrong about your property's risk, you can formally challenge it through FEMA. You will need that surveyor's elevation certificate, but if your appeal is approved, the mandate is dropped, and you can save thousands of dollars every year by opting out of unnecessary coverage. Here is what you need to do right now. Head over to the FEMA Flood Map Service Center at msc.fema.gov and type in your home address to see your property's current official designation. If you see an update or receive a warning from your lender, get in touch with an independent insurance agent this month so you can weigh your choices before the ticking clock runs out. Let us move on to change number 3. For renters, the single most critical date on the housing calendar centers on the deadlines for rent increase notices taking effect on January 1st.
Rent increases are looming.
Unfortunately,
Know your
most
tenant
tenants
rights
view a
and
rent
caps.
hike as an inevitable event that just happens to them, completely missing the fact that knowing the regulations ahead of time gives them real leverage. In the vast majority of states, landlords are legally required to give you advanced written notice before they can bump up your rent. While the exact notification window varies depending on your state or city, the baseline standard is typically between 30 and 60 days. In California, if a landlord wants to raise your rent by more than 10%, they have to give you a full 90 days notice. New York City has strict limits and notice rules specifically for rent-stabilized apartments. Over in Oregon, landlords dealing with properties under statewide rent stabilization must give a 90-day warning for any increase that goes past the annual limit. The real trap for renters is the timeline. Negotiations for leases starting or renewing on January 1st usually kick off in October and November. This means landlords who follow the law are sending out those notices during those exact months for a December or January start date. By the time the average renter actually opens the letter and starts weighing their options, the window to negotiate a better deal, hunt for a new apartment, or look into local tenant protections has shrunk dramatically compared to someone who was watching the calendar. Here is what a lot of renters do not realize. Plenty of cities and states without official rent control still have specific rules dictating exactly how and when a landlord can raise your rent. Some of these hidden clauses give you massive bargaining power. On top of that, if you live in an area where rent stabilization applies to your building, any hike that goes over the legal yearly limit is completely void. You have the right to refuse to pay the extra amount and file a report with your local housing agency. For the 2026 calendar year, the standard allowable rent increases under stabilization laws hover between 3% and 5% across cities in states like California, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, and Maryland. Your action step starts right now. Figure out exactly which tenant laws protect you by searching your city's name, plus Rent Increase Notice Requirements 2026. Dig out your current lease agreement to verify your renewal date and see what it says about rent adjustment notices. If you live in an area with rent stabilization, double check whether your building is actually covered by looking up your address on your local housing authority or rent board website. Keep in mind that buildings built past a certain year are often exempt, but if your unit is covered, knowing that legal maximum cap before you sit down to negotiate is incredibly powerful. Now for change number 4, which focuses on a completely free resource that millions of eligible families leave on the table every single year. I am talking about the U.S. Department of Energy's Weatherization Assistance Program and its various state-level equivalents. Right now, these programs are heading into their peak sign-up and installation window. The next few weeks are your absolute best shot to secure a spot on the priority list for autumn and winter upgrades. Essentially, this initiative covers the total cost of energy efficiency upgrades for households that meet the income limits. The program handles major improvements, including packing insulation into your attic, walls, and floors, sealing up drafty gaps and air leaks, repairing or completely replacing old heating systems, upgrading water heaters, fixing doors or windows, and installing energy-efficient lighting. On average, the value of these free home upgrades tops $7,000 per household. Better yet, the improvements typically slash your ongoing heating bills by 15 to 25% permanently. To qualify, your household income generally needs to sit at or below 200% of the federal poverty line, or 60% of your state's median income, depending on which number is higher. In 2026, for a two-person home, that 200% threshold works out to roughly $33,000. This eligibility window easily covers many seniors, relying mostly on Social Security, renters in affordable housing, and retired homeowners managing tight fixed incomes. Here is why you need to move fast on this. The timeline for these upgrades depends entirely on when you apply and when local contractors are free. Getting the work done during late summer or early fall, right before the winter cold hits, gives you the maximum payoff, because your home is protected for the entire heating season. If you wait until November or December to apply, your project might get pushed out until spring. That means you will suffer through sky-high utility bills all winter long without seeing any benefits. Submitting your paperwork in July or August locks in your spot for a fall setup and maximizes your financial savings. Your next move is to locate your local program office by visiting energy.gov/WAP or reaching out to your state's energy department. You will need to provide proof of income and ID during the application. This program is open to homeowners, people living in manufactured homes, and even renters if the landlord gives the green light. If you are renting, definitely ask about specific state rules that sometimes allow this weatherization work to go through without requiring official landlord approval. Even if your income sits slightly above the federal limits, do not write this off. Most states run their own secondary programs funded by state cash, utility companies, or LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which usually have more generous income limits. A quick call to your state's energy department can instantly point you toward every single program you qualify for based on your specific situation. Let us look at change number 5. The Federal Housing Finance Agency is currently wrapped up in a major review of the housing market, focusing heavily on property appraisal methods and fair lending laws. They are expected to drop updated guidelines and new demands for mortgage lenders and banks before the year ends. This matters immensely if you bought or refinanced a house recently, or if you plan to sell or tap into your equity soon. The goal of this review, which has been playing out through 2026, is to see if appraisal methods are unfairly lowering home values in certain neighborhoods and if lending rules are applied equally across different communities. For homeowners, the final decisions could reshape your refinance paths, home equity options, and how your home gets valued the next time you try to borrow against it or sell it. Practically speaking, if you are looking into a refinance, tracking these agency updates before locking in your terms lets you spot policy shifts before they hit your wallet. Also, if you think an old appraisal unfairly tanked your home value, this review makes lenders and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau much more likely to take your complaint seriously than in years past. For renters, This matters because single-family lending standards eventually trickle down to impact rental supply and pricing. If buying a home becomes easier or more affordable for people, it can ease the demand on rentals over time, though that takes years to play out. Your move? Monitor these updates at fhfa.gov. If you are planning a refinance and rates look good, starting that paperwork now under the current rules might be safer than waiting for the framework to shift right before your deal closes. To wrap things up, let us look at the complete picture of these 5 upcoming changes and what you should do today. First, mortgage escrow adjustments are landing, and with average property tax hikes sitting around 6 to 8% this year, expect your monthly bills to shift significantly this fall. Check your tax assessment now to catch any lender errors early. Second, FEMA's massive map updates are forcing millions of unexpected properties into high-risk flood zones. Look up your address at msc.fema.gov today and speak with an independent agent before your lender forces an expensive policy on you. Third, the window for January 1st rent increase notices opens in October and November. Learn your local tenant rules and rent stabilization caps now so you actually have room to negotiate or find a backup plan. Fourth, the priority list for the free weatherization assistance program is open right now. Applying early ensures your home gets up to $7,000 in free efficiency upgrades before the expensive winter heating bills kick in. Finally, the government is rewriting the playbook on home appraisals and lending standards by the end of the year. If you are trying to refinance, consider moving forward now under the current rules. None of these shifts require you to sprint out the door this exact second, but ignoring them only makes things tougher down the road. Preparing this month gives you options, while waiting until September or October means accepting whatever bills land on your doorstep. If this breakdown helped you out, hit that subscribe button. Share this video with every homeowner and renter in your life, especially anyone managing a fixed income who could use free home upgrades, or anyone with a mortgage who hasn't checked their tax assessment lately. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.